Buenas tardes, bienvenidos a ¿Qué pasa, Mujer? Welcome to ¿Qué pasa, Mujer? We're here every Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Estamos aquí todos los domingos a las 4 de la tarde, hora de Nueva York. ¿Qué pasa, Mujer? Es una plataforma donde podemos hablar del cualquier tema que nosotras queramos hablar. Tenemos invitados femeninos y masculinos, no discriminamos ningún género. Estamos muy contentas de estar aquí hoy porque vamos a tener un tema significante a la mujer. Muchas veces hablamos de diferentes temas, pero hoy sí vamos a hablar de la mujer en general. Ya no estamos celebrando el mes de la mujer porque ya no estamos en marzo. We're no longer celebrating Women's Month because we're not in March anymore. However, today we are going to have a heavy women's topic today as well. So one of the things that as you guys know, I am a female, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a mother, I'm a basketball mom, I'm a mother, I'm a granddaughter. I have a lot of hats that I wear. I do a lot of things in the community, and sometimes is a struggle to juggle all the different things, the expectations that we have of ourselves and the expectations that other people have of us. For example, today I have been out of the house since 6:30 in the morning because my son plays basketball. So we had to, it's a game that starts at 9 o'clock, but the coach wants the team to be there an hour and a half earlier, and then driving time. So again, it's today's a Sunday, so working the whole week and having to get up early during the week. And again, a Sunday that should be a day of rest is a day of driving and basketball. So luckily we won all of our teams and we won the tournament. So we got recognized and we got the trophy, and my son performed well and nobody got hurt, but it's still a very long day. So I am on the East Coast, so it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I have been up since about 5:30. But it's just one of those challenges. It's one of those decisions that we make in life because this is the life that I chose to have, and so I am grateful that I'm able to do all the things that I do. And then tonight, I will spend some time taking care of my week and what my week looks like. I try to implement certain things so that my life is not super chaotic. Even though I do plan for no chaos does happen at times. I am involved in the community a lot, so things sometimes just pop up that were not part of the schedule. But it's just life, right? So Maddie's going to join us in a few minutes, but one of the things that we're going to talk about is that the true juggle of taking care of ourselves, taking care of our family, taking care of our work, any other additional business that we might be involved in, taking care of the community, family in our household, and family outside of the household. So all of these things happen at one time, majority of the time. So prioritizing and not getting to a point where we're juggling so much that we kind of get lost. I know for me, I have experienced getting sick, catching a cold, just because of the fatigue. So I think it's important to listen to our bodies and to kind of like settle down a little bit. So like I said, I had a long day today, but prior to this show, I did take a little cat nap for about 25 minutes. So it's important to do all of those things to make sure that we stay mentally healthy for other people so we can be functional for them. And I think one of the things as well that I have noticed this particular week is the influence that social media may have on us in different ways. Either because we spend a lot of time on social media versus getting some rest. Sometimes we spend some time on social media, and that's where we see a lot of unrealistic expectations. And then we put those expectations on us or our family or our business. Extra stress sometimes that we don't really need to be a part of. I know I recently had a conversation and we were talking about all the things that are on my plate, and I do understand that I have to remind myself at times that I have the ability to schedule a meeting or not schedule the meeting. I do use a pencil for my planner. I use digital, and I still use paper and pencil because I will erase things in a heartbeat. Hi, Maddie.
Hi, buenas tardes. ¿Qué
Buenas
pasa, mujer?
tardes. Good, good, good. We were just talking about my planner because I've been having, I do block scheduling as much as I can. And I on purpose use a pencil because I will scratch things off if I think that I'm becoming overwhelmed. So, for example, last week, Maddie had an event, and I did it. I still used the pencil, but I didn't scratch it off because I went to see her perform. So it was like a must event for me for that particular week. So a lot of the times it just depends how I'm feeling and what I'm in the mood for, to be honest with you. I know, like, for example, this coming up weekend, I'm going to be heavy busy on events. So I probably won't be going to my son's basketball game, but I went this weekend and I went last weekend. So just kind of prioritizing and giving myself grace and having a conversation with my son of, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it today, or I'll just go to one game instead of four games. So we just kind of wanted to hear from you, Maddie. Like, how do you juggle all those things that pull on you? Work, family, business, community, family in your household, family outside of your household. And I know we've had this topic before, but I think, as I was mentioning earlier, the in addition to all of those things, like how social media impacts those decisions that we make, because we do tend to put a little bit extra stress on us, either because we're spending time on social media versus doing some of the other duties that we should be doing, or allowing social media to take a part of my decision making or how I feel about my performance in any of those areas. So how do you do it?
Um, I think we've said this before. Somebody told me that you can have it all, but just not all at the same time. And I think you said the key word earlier when you were talking about like writing on your planner. It's prioritizing. So sometimes it's a give and take that you have to kind of play, and it's like what is important, what is the most important at this moment. I think that's kind of important to know. You were talking about your planner at work. I have a planner that I write by hand, so I do have my calendar and my computer, but I also do have a planner that I write on, and then that way I have like my regular activities that I'm supposed to do every day. And then if I do anything else, anything extra, I will write it on there and just, scratch it off. That just kind of helps me if I forget to do something, or if I have to follow up on something, I will always look at the day before and kind of, or write it if I have to follow up in a couple of days. So I still like to do that by hand. I joke on that all the time. I am a paper girl. But oddly enough, when I'm writing my poetry, I cannot write it in pen or on paper because, again, I tend to scratch and go back and change a word here and there. And I hate to look at the paper and see it all messed up, because then I can't read it. So, so it's kind of funny. So I would say, it's just kind of important for you to kind of figure out what's important to you at the moment. And like you said, having conversations with the people around you, again, with kids, it's important because kids can be very sensitive sometimes, and or not understand, okay, why is mommy doing this, or versus doing that with me. I remember the first time I went to poetry competition usually every year falls in the week of my boy's birthday, every year. So I've been attending since 2017. So since 2017, it's been, kind of juggling with like that guilt. I'm going to miss their birthday or whatever, So, lately we've been able to kind of make it happen because he goes like the day after or something like that. So I get to spend the day of their birthday with them. But again, having that conversation and be like, I hope, you understand how important this is for me, and this is what I'm doing and whatever, or getting them involved so that they see me do what I like to do, and they understand, how important it is to me, and that they are equally as important to me as well, or more, so but it's again just having those conversations and then prioritize.
Hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yesterday I heard my mom for the first time. I forgot what we were talking about, but she said, "I come first," and I was like, "Really?" It's like se está revelando, lately, because I had never heard her say that before. But I think it's true. I think we do so much for other people that we neglect ourselves, and that's when disease comes on board, or lack of satisfaction of life, or whatever those things may be. I know for me, like currently, I have something going on in all of those areas. So like with work, I'm getting kind of ready, getting prepared for my summer program, and I need to move into a new location. I need something a little bit bigger. So I have to sit down at moments in pure silence at my office. For some reason, I can't do it at home. But I have to do it at the office when the lamp is on and nobody's there. And, I'm playing a little bit of music, or sometimes I go completely silent. And that's when I get kind of like my best moments. Also, I get my best moments, like ideas, like 4 o'clock in the morning. So I just kind of like think, I'm like, oh my God, I should do that. And it's usually they're really great ideas. So even with finding a new place for my business, I've made like 5 phone calls to like key people that are well known in the city with that can potentially help me find a spot. So just kind of like a bug in their ear to say, hey, just in case you see something, so that I don't feel completely rushed into making that move. And then that's one thing that I've done to alleviate the move, because I know it's going to be crazy anyway. And then the other thing that I've done is just little by little organizing certain sections of the office and kind of getting rid of stuff, or helping the kids organize. So like, what are we using? What are we not using? So those are two like specific things that I have done to alleviate my work issue. So I wanted you to share what are some things that you perhaps, because I know that I'm a control freak, but I think you're a little bit more than I am. And I think it was really exposed a few minutes ago when you were talking about making sure the paper wasn't too scratched, and that's why you type it instead of write it. So tell me a little bit about how you maybe delegate things, or, finagle it so it's not so overwhelming at work.
Um, I wouldn't say that I am organized, because I am always overwhelmed. I do have a hard time delegating stuff. I used to kind of make fun of my mom for this, and I am exactly the same way. Sometimes you feel like things are not done correctly unless you do them yourself, or like nobody's going to do them the way that you do them. So I struggle with that. I struggle with having the kids clean and then me cleaning after them because they didn't clean well enough, or the way that I would have cleaned it, so I struggle with that a lot, because I try not to do it. I try not to be too obvious in front of them, because I don't want them up, whatever, she's going to do it anyway, or whatever. I don't want them thinking that way, but I do struggle with that. So cleaning the kitchen, letting somebody else clean the kitchen, they'll clean, but I'm going to go in there and clean it anyway afterwards, so because I like it to look a certain way. So I think that's the thing, like writing wise, it's like I start writing on paper, and if you start scratching, it just looks too messy and you can't read, and when I'm writing, I write a paragraph or two, and then I like to read it out loud. And then I'll add another paragraph, and I like to read it out loud. And if it's messy, it's like I can't follow. So that's the only thing. I think it's important to plan. I am a planner. I like to plan. I do get overwhelmed when things don't go exactly how I plan them. But I like to plan. So I like to know what I'm going to do tomorrow. This is how it's going to go. This is what I'm going to do. At least to have an idea if I'm running late or behind or whatever, or things don't get done exactly. But at least I know this is what else I have to do for today, So I am a planner. Maybe not a control freak, but I like to know at least what's going to happen for the most part. I know things that are not planned are always gonna happen. I know that, but at least for the most part, I like to have an idea of what's gonna happen. So that's why I like to plan stuff.
So planning is how you alleviate things
Yes, I
in
guess
your
so.
mind. So we
Yes.
think that, yeah, and I think that's good because sometimes when we see it written down, I think knowing that there's adjustments that will take place, but at
Mhm.
least I know like pretty much this is how the week is going to look like. Some adjustments to it, but at least we can kind of see the big picture of it. With like my digital planner and my paper one, I do like to see the week. So I have it like Sunday through Saturday. So I do love that. I'm doing I've been questioning myself whether I want to do just digital, and my brain is not allowing me to. For some reason, I like to have both, and I think also, and I hate the fact that I'm starting to use the word as I get older because I'm making adjustments to like as I get older. But as I get older, I have to like because I'm typing it and because I'm writing it down, it sticks to my brain a little bit better. So I'm less likely to forget, even though digitally I'm going to get a reminder, that this is going to happen in an hour or 15 minutes or whatever. Um, so yeah, but I think, I don't know the textbook definition to control freak. Maybe there's different levels of it. But I know I definitely have it uh, at my workplace. In my home, I have it in my bedroom and the kitchen. I want things done a certain way. And lately, as I've gotten older, also my communication, especially with my mom, like just being extra detailed and just asking, because so many times we've gotten in communication troubles because we're not specific. So something basic, like I will text her, "Hey, can you pick up my son from basketball today at 7 o'clock?" And then I'll say the name of the school or the location. Um, just because I've learned from the mistakes that we've made in the past. So she's another method that I use to alleviate things that I have to do. Um, so I think using, I hate the word using, but utilizing people that are in our circle that we trust, that we can delegate things to. And again, it could be a simple conversation or a phone call to say, "Hey, I'm looking for a venue to do such and such, just in case you hear something." I think that's a good way. I know for me, for family, definitely my mom alleviates a lot of the things. And for my business, my personal assistant will help me a lot. And one of the things that the other day, probably like 2 weeks ago, I went to a conference and they were talking about how the different generations communicate and how they work and how they respond in the workplace. And I think one of the things that I think that I do very well, the people that work with me, I will ask them what their gifts and talents are so I can kind of work around that versus me having somebody do an Excel spreadsheet, but I know that is a struggle for them or they don't enjoy doing it. Um, so I think that also is helpful. It creates a more welcoming and enjoyable working environment. And so we're less at stress at work. So I think that's great as well. Um, One of the things that I sometimes struggle with, Maddie, is probably the community aspect of things, because it's really a small group of us that are doing the work of doing stuff for the community. Um, and that's the place that I want to do more, but my arms don't stretch long enough to be able to do it. And I think that I haven't made the time to like really sit down and organize it and call on people to help with that aspect of things. Even though I think that I've done enough, I've done well with it, but I think that I could do so much more. Um, so I wanted you to talk a little bit about that, the things that you haven't been able to, like, how do you deal with that?
I think when it comes to like outreach in the community and things like that, I think there's a lot of people doing a lot of things, and sometimes you may have somebody next to you that's trying to do the same thing you are, and you guys don't know that you're trying to do the same thing. So I think that's why networking is so important. And like knowing the people around you, pulling on resources, like you said before, utilizing the people around you. Well, yeah, those are resources as well. So but I think it's important, to kind of not keep it quiet. Sometimes, we think, this is what I'm planning to do. I'm not going to tell anybody because, I don't want people to mess it up or whatever, and we have the completely opposite effect, So instead of, talking about it, you don't know if you might bump into somebody else that's trying to do the same thing. And when it comes to the community, as we know, together we are stronger. The more people that we have, the more outreach we can have. So I think it's important to kind of know the people that are around you, utilize your resources, know the people, and communicate. It's about communication and kind of putting it out there, because I see it a lot. I see, sometimes you go into places and you're like, oh, they've been doing this out here, this is what I've been trying to do, and I didn't know that this existed. And I've had a lot of those moments, like the more you kind of get out there. So I think, communicating, and talking about, your plans, or like you said earlier too, that key people that can maybe help you, so that's important. Like we keep saying, utilize the resources around you, whether those are people or things or places or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think sometimes, and it was something that I had to grow into, to make that phone call to get somebody's help, with something, because that was also challenging. Me daba pena, to call. And I saw it as a bother that I would kind of inconvenience the person, but I learned that that's what community is. That community is me reaching out to you because I am in need, and then also it opens up the door where you feel comfortable reaching out to me, because we can talk to each other. We can find each other's, possibly even just brainstorm it. Like I said, a lot of the times it's just a conversation. To give someone an idea, to brainstorm a situation. So I think that's important as well. And I think that works for personal and professional. There's people that I have met professionally that today I can kind of reach out on a personal level as well. So I think having those relationships is crucial. Even, even with this show, Que Pasa Mujer, we have met some people that we've had on as guests, and also Mark, our producer. If I have a question and I'm like, hey, Mark, do you know somebody that does this? Or, even your connection with Mark and poetry and, the stuff that he's involved in. So I think even in those places, like a Super Bowl, like Mark and I talked about the halftime show, so I just think it's awesome to build those relationships, that it's not always work, that we can kind of talk about other things. And it's hard to say that I embrace the challenges of life, because if it was up to me in my little one child bubble, I would say I don't want any challenges. I want things to just kind of go my way, and that's it. But it would be so boring. I think that challenges allows us to meet new people and exchange information and exchange experiences. So I think that's awesome. I try my best when there are challenges. I try my best not to stay in that moment too long. And then I try to focus on the solution, or how can I get out of this situation? Because I hate the negative emotions that sometimes are attached to situations. So just kind of using my voice more in a positive way. And I know that that's challenging. I don't know what you do, either with life situations, personal or business. I know even with you switching over to working in a different role. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that, because newness is also amazing, but it could also be challenging.
Oh, very, very much so. Very much so. Again, I go back to, I am a creature of habit. I like I do things a certain way, and sometimes, as much as I like to learn new things and, to kind of do different things, I also like to do my things a certain way. So I think there's only so much capacity that we have for new things at one time. So if I'm doing something new at work, I want everything else to kind of be as expected, so that I know, like, I can plan. Okay, I know this is what's going to happen when I get out of work. I don't know what's going to happen when I'm at work, because everything is new, and I can't plan for what I don't know. So it's like, okay, I'm open to whatever comes. But when I get out of here, this is what's going to happen. So I think, that's my thing. Like, I can't have too many new things going on at once. I am a crybaby. I think I've said this here many, many times. So anytime I'm frustrated, every time any emotion, even happiness, any emotion that comes in my life comes with tears. Any emotion. So if I am overwhelmed, I am going to cry for 2 minutes, and then I'm gonna keep going. So I think that's what I've learned. Like you said, as I've gotten older, uh, you have to kind of like let it out, because I think sometimes we try to hold it in, just to prove that we are strong, and I got this, it doesn't matter what happens. And no, I will cry and kick and scream for 2 minutes, and then I'll get up and do it again. Like, I as a matter of fact, when was it? Yesterday. So we woke up to a leak from my bathroom. It's right over my kitchen. So there was a leak hitting right on the island. So when I woke up, there was a garbage can. That was Friday. It was Friday. There was a garbage can like right on top of my island. And I'm like, what the heck? Anyway, I went to work. I came home from work, and there was a tunnel in my roof. It was a big hole in my kitchen. And then there was a big hole in my bathroom. So I'm like trying not to lose my mind. And then finally they fixed the leak, but the hole was still there. But there was a mess on the floor and everywhere. I got up yesterday and I was like, okay. And then I looked around and I cried. I was like, what a mess. How am I going to clean this up? Where? I'm tired. I don't want to do this. And blah, blah, blah. And that probably went on for like 5 or 6 minutes. And then I was like, okay. I started washing dishes and, clean the stove and this and that. And next thing you know, the kitchen was clean. I made breakfast. I fed the baby. We played around a little bit and blah, blah, blah. And the day just went, So saying that to say that sometimes, it's valid. You have to validate your feelings. Like, don't negate your feelings. Don't think you're less for feeling a certain way or whatever. Whatever you're feeling, express yourself however you can. Let it out, whether it is crying, laughing, walking away, breathing, whatever it looks like for you. For me, it's crying and throwing a tantrum, and then, okay, let's get it done. But it's valid and it's okay to feel them. So
Yeah, I would say I always struggle with that. And there was a point in my life that I didn't know that I was struggling with that. So I think I've mentioned this probably a while ago when we first started doing the show, but anytime that I felt whatever emotion, it was frustrating. That was my go-to word, like as if that is the only word that exists with what I felt as emotion. So through talking to people, through therapy, I found out what you just said, that it's okay to acknowledge that I feel this way. And I think I've shared here on the show that I will utilize the emotional wheel, and that the first time that I saw the emotional wheel, I didn't know that all of these emotions and feelings existed. So there are times that I want to gravitate to the word frustrated, but I will look at the emotional wheel and pick a different word, because I'm really trying to explore what I'm really feeling, right? And then with the emotional wheel, like the total opposite word it's kind of like aligned with it. So like if you're feeling depressed, then the other word might be optimistic. The opposite word might be optimistic. So it kind of helps you to process, okay, I'm feeling sad at the moment. Okay, that's how I feel. Like how do I go over to the opposite end, and I think that has been a challenge in the past. It still comes up sometimes, because I do feel, again, frustrated. And so just recently I was in a situation and I was like shocked that this person did this, right? And I was upset. Like I literally felt my body, like the blood pressure go up. Like I felt heated, right? And I didn't say anything to the person. I just didn't say anything, and I just went mute. But in the moment, I'm working on bringing my body back down, but I still, once I noticed that my body was back at balance, I then was able to have the conversation with the person. I would not have been able to do that before. So I think it's the growth.
You said the key word, you acknowledge, because I think that's what happens a lot of the times. We feel things and we don't validate what we're feeling at the moment, or we don't recognize. But when you learn to recognize how you react to certain situations, how your body reacts, because sometimes things will happen to us, and again, back in my days, I will go from 0 to 1,000 in a second, and it's like, okay, I'm losing it, and I will react a certain way. And then now sometimes I find myself in the same situation, and it's like, wow, I am an adult, so like I surprised myself, because old me would have been totally different. So I think being aware, is very important. And like you said, I think those are things that we learn, again, as we mature, as we go through life, and as we go through certain situations in life. Sometimes, I'm not going to say as we get necessarily older, because there's people that have to go through things and they end up going through things at an earlier age than maybe perhaps you and I did. So therefore they will mature a little bit faster, sooner than us. But I think being aware is the key, the key part, because that way, again, you know what to expect. You know exactly what's going to happen. Like, I can't talk to you right now. I have to walk away because it could be very ugly. But I do want to address it, just not now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's important. And I think also for us that are parents to be able to teach that to our children. I know last couple of weeks I had a conversation with my youngest son, and I was like, hey, do you think that I nag, right? Like cantaleta, we say in Colombia, when you nag at your kids. And I don't think that I'm a nagger, right? But I was like, I was just wondering how he sees it. And he said yes. Like he was yes, right? Like it didn't take him, he didn't have to think about it. He just said yes. And I was like, well, I had to like take a deep breath, because I'm doing like self-awareness, right, at this point. Because I have to be, if I'm asking the question, I have to be prepared for the answer. So I had it, again, it was dialogue to tell him, if I tell you, clean your room, and then I come back 10 minutes later and it's not clean. And then I give you 10 more minutes and 10 more minutes. So like I didn't come nagging at first, but it escalated to nagging, because now I'm having to tell you multiple times for the day, or the day, the next day. So it turns into that. So I think even having that type of dialogue, teaches them to have a little bit of empathy. So I think for him to, instead of just receiving it as nagging, now he understands, oh, she's nagging because I didn't do it the first time, right? And we had that conversation this morning, like, and again, it's the same thing. Like, why do I have to tell you 3 times to do something? Like you're choosing to do it at your time, or the way that you want to do it. So you have to be able to see that could be seen as being defiant and disrespectful, right? And because teenagers, the answer is I don't know, or I forgot. Those are the answers to everything. So it is frustrating at times to deal with other people, because we, I think unconsciously, we want them to respond a certain way. And when they don't, That's where we kind of see conflict. Also with romantic relationships or friendships, we have this expectation, but I think what works the most is when you have respect for one another. Even with our children, it's that way as well. If you can feel that I respect you, then we can have better dialogue. So I don't know if you've noticed a difference, Maddie, with maybe the way that you communicate with your sons versus your daughter. Is it different when it comes to that type of stuff? Because I only have sons, so I don't know.
Very much so. I think like when it comes to people in general, because even with my two sons, I might talk a little bit different to both of them because they're a little bit different. So I think the more time that you spend with people, you kind of learn how they work and how they process. I think I've talked about my son's personalities. They're identical twins, but they're very different people. I say, Esau, which is my oldest, or the one that was born first, he's more like his dad in the sense that he likes to be on time. He's always early, and like he's very much so. The other one, it's like he plays with fire. He's like me. That's me. It's like, do you want to wake up early and eat, or do you rather get 5 more minutes of sleep? 5 more minutes of sleep. So he's, that's me. That's like, I can't even be mad at him. That is me. So he's my one that's always like late, because you're on time, you're late, so he's the one that's always late. So I'm like that. But my other one is Esau is more like detail. Like you have to tell him exactly what to do. If you tell him, I need you to do this, he won't even know how to get started. And like he'll be a mess. But if you tell him, at 1, I need you to do this. At 2, you should be doing this. And at 3, you should be doing that. Like he'll follow it to the T and he'll get it done. So if you tell him exactly what to do, he'll get it done in a timely manner. He'll do exactly what you told him to do. My other one is like, okay, when is the deadline? 3 o'clock. He'll start at 2:50, but he'll get it done by 3 o'clock. So that's kind of how that's how he works. It's like, okay, like, and even when they were babies, like I remember when we used to sit down and eat, it's like, okay, if you eat your food, you can go play. Okay, so if I finish everything that's here, I can go play and you're not going to bother me anymore. I promise you, I will leave you alone. And he will eat it and you will see his face. Oh my God, like he will be struggling. And then he's like, done. And then he will leave and he will be good. Esau, my oldest, he would sit there and he would play with his thumbs and fingers and do whatever, count sheep, and it would be 3 hours and he would not touch the food because he said he's not eating. So,
Wow.
They're completely different. So my approach to communicating with both of them is different. And again, with my daughter as well. I don't know, like with my daughter, again, because we're females, it's like sometimes the conversation is like more understood, with the boys, it's like, I don't know. And then also, I know that with my daughter growing up, I used to have full conversations and full explanations of everything with her. With the boys, the doctor told me like very early on that they're boys, and boys, you have to make it simple for them. Like if you talk too much and you try to explain too much, you will confuse them and you will lose them, because with my daughter was like, no, you can't do that because you're going to fall and then you're going to get a boo-boo and you're going to bleed and it's going to hurt and you don't want it to hurt and blah, blah, blah. With the boys, it's like, don't do that because you're going to hurt yourself. Period. Don't say nothing else,
Right.
And I, it depends on the person. And I think, you get to know that person, the more you interact with them. So.
Yeah, that's true. A couple of days I saw a video, and I'll share it with you after the show. But it was a video of triplets, and so the mom taped off the hallway, and then she put the bottles, outside of the tape. So the different babies come, to get their bottles. So like one of them cries, like dramatico. So he just like cries and he tries to get through the tape, but he can't do it. The other one constantly tries to like find a way of like, how do I get through the tape, right? And then the other one, he tries a little bit, but he couldn't do it. But the one kid was able to like reach and get the bottle, and he gave it to his brother. So he grabbed the bottle and he just went back to his room. The other one's still crying, even though his brother gave him the bottle too, but he's still crying and he's still trying to come through the tape, even though he has the bottle in his hands. So I was like reading the comments, and they were just kind of talking about how like this is the beginning of who they are as adults, you know. So like I was like, oh my god, I wonder what type of baby I was. And then I was thinking about my own children, how maybe they did certain things when they were younger, and how it fits their personality today. So did you also see it when like they were little as well? Like does it has stuck with them?
Of course. Like when they were babies, like just, like when I brought them home. Esau, he was born first, and he was my independent child. I could not, how they tell you got to swaddle the baby so they could feel safe and, kind of squeeze them away. He hated all of that. He's like, let me be, But my other one, I could swaddle him. He would sleep in my armpit. And I'm like, are you breathing? Like he loved like that, But the other one, no. Esau he walked first. He did everything first because, he was the adventurous one and like not scared, not afraid. And then my other one, he would observe first. And then he would, Esau started walking. The other one walked the next day. Esau started crawling, the other one crawled the next day, so it was like he would be right behind, but he would observe first. When they were babies, because they were premature, they were doing physical therapy and cognitive therapy and all kinds of therapy. And one of the things that they would do is play with the little figurines, and you had to put the circle in the circle and the triangle in the triangle and things like that. And Esau would try to force it and push it, and it's not gonna fit, and then my other one, Mimi would sit there and just kind of like he would put it in the little hole and then turn it, to see if it would fit. And if it didn't work, then he would go to the next one and turn it. And it would take him longer, and he was a little slower, but he will make things happen. Not my Esau, and that's how he is. He'll get frustrated, he'll get overwhelmed, he'll quit. But if you give him structure and tell him exactly what to do, he will get it done. So yeah, it's them. Like I've always known it's them.
That's who they are. Yeah, that's interesting. Before we keep talking, I just want to acknowledge the people that have either made comments on our show. Lily Matos and Tangi. Hello, ladies, and whoever else may be watching us. We only know you're watching us because you place a comment. If you're just viewing, we're not really sure if you're there or not. So you can say hello, you can type hello, you can type hola. Pueden escribir en español o en inglés, no importa si nos están viendo. La única manera que sabemos que están ahí es porque ponen un comentario. Si solamente están viendo, es un poquito más difícil saludarlos, o lo pueden escribir sus saludos en los comentarios. This is an off-topic question. When did you tell your kids like who was born first from the twins and why?
They've always known. There's a story, to them and how they were born and how they almost didn't make it, and yet they made it, and they were supposed to die and not be here from the beginning, so like they know the whole, the whole story. And my Esau knows that he is 2 minutes older, and he will hold it over Mimi's head. I came first. I'm 2 minutes older, so they know, they know. So
I'm just wondering because I have clients and they're twins, and I think they're in 3rd grade, and mom still has not told them. There's 2 girls, and they're identical twins as well. and they're so competitive with each other. So mom has chosen not to tell them yet. I don't know if she might tell them on their wedding day. I have no idea, but she refuses. They don't know who was born first because they'll do what your son does. It's like constant competition with them.
They do know, and then it's like everything because like so we picked names. Like I had two names. I had a boy and a girl name, when I got married. I'm like, okay, we have kids, these are our two names. We're gonna have a boy and a girl, and this is it. So we had our girl and we used the girl name, so we had one boy name. So when we found out we were having two, it was like, oh my God, what are we gonna name the other one? So it was total chaos trying to come up with a second name. And so they know because of that, because the two names that we have, they started with the letter I. So it's like, okay, those are our two names, and then our third one, his name starts with an M. So it's like he knows because of that. Also, their social security numbers are like 2 digits off. So Esau's it's lower, the number's lower, and then Mimi's is like 2 or 3 numbers higher. So it's like 86 and 92, like the last two numbers. So so they know also because of that. So I mean, like, there's like a lot of little things. Esau was heavier than Mimi was, a little bit lighter, and so there's like a lot of little details, that would kind of give it away. But yeah, they've always known.
I've never asked you this before, right? So I think your husband is very he has a unique sense of humor, but I think he's funny when I've interacted with him, right? But maybe a little sarcastic, but also like very serious. Like I'm still reading him. But I would have loved to see his reaction when you told him that you guys were having twins, or when he found out. Like what was his reaction?
It was so funny because I think I told you my story. I just went when I found out I was pregnant, I found out I did a home pregnancy test like maybe 2 days before Christmas Eve. We celebrate Noche Buena. So it was like 2 days, like a day before Noche Buena, and I found out I was pregnant. So I was like, I wasn't sure. So I did a couple of more tests, and I'm like, so yes, I was pregnant. It was my first time doing a pregnancy test, like before I was actually late, and he came out positive. That's how pregnant I was. So I let him know the day of Christmas Eve. That was my gift. I'm like, oh, oops, I'm pregnant, whatever. So yeah, needless to say, he was like, oh my God, or whatever, because my daughter was, about to turn 4. So it was like, it was time. And then I couldn't get to the doctor because it was Christmas, the holidays, whatever. So my appointment, I found out I was pregnant December 24th. My appointment to see the doctor was not until like after my birthday, which is January 9th. So I had to wait almost a whole month to be able to see my doctor and whatever. So I went to see my doctor. Everything sounded fine. And he said, let's do a routine sonogram just to make sure that, everything it's good. So I was like, okay, because, by then I was already like, I don't know, like 8 or 9 weeks or something like that. So he sent me to do the appointment, and I went to my appointment, and I went in my lunch break because it was just a routine sonogram. I went in my lunch break. I went in, and I'm like, okay, I got an hour, in and out, and the lady's doing her thing, and she's like, oh yeah, the baby looks fine, and the other one does too. And it was like just normal conversation for her. And I'm like, excuse me? And she goes, oh yeah, you got 2 babies, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1, 2, AB, AB. And I'm like, what? So I'm still processing like the first of and she's talking, and I didn't hear nothing else. Don't ask me about what else happened in that appointment. I have no idea. I know I walked out of there, and I remember walking like a very tight hallway, and I was crying and laughing and crying and laughing, and people were looking at me like I was nuts, but I was just crying and laughing. And then I made it to my car, and I sat in my car, and I cried for like another hour or so. Like I swear it was like a 3-hour lunch. By the time I got to the office, they were like, are you okay? And I'm like, no. And I'm crying. And my friend is like, are you having another girl? Is that why you're crying? But I was only, I was only like 10, 11 weeks pregnant. So it was too little to tell the sex. It was two. So I'm showing the picture to everybody, and everybody's like, because, those sonogram pictures, they're like funny looking, and they're twisting the picture and they're like, I don't see anything. I just see A and B. And I said, exactly. And, whatever. So, everybody lost their mind in the office. And then my husband happened to work, like, he was a distributor for Red Bull at that time. And the warehouse where he picked up was like probably like 5 or 7 minutes away from my job at that time. So I told him, at the end of the day, when you come, turn in your stuff, I need you to stop by my office. Oh, whatever. If you're going to tell me we're having another girl, I don't want to hear it. You could tell me that at home. I said, oh no, you want to hear this. And, yeah, so he came, and needless to say, he knew there was something going on, because my boss, the manager of my department, my friend, there was like 10 people in the office with me while I was going to tell him that we were having twins. And like literally, like when I said the word, like he drooled, he like stumbled, and he was like, what? And then worse, when we found out that there were boys, when we were having that sonogram, like he literally was like this next to the technician. He was like, tell me again. And she's like, oh, yes, but you sure? Because I'm about to start making phone calls and I need to make. So, yeah.
Oh my God, that's funny. Oh my God. Yeah, I had never asked you that question. Tangi wants to know if the twins are close.
Very much so. It's like they hate each other, but they love each other. It's like only I'm allowed to hate you, like that kind of love. My one boy right now is in school in Tennessee, and he's 8 hours away. And then one boy it's home. And it's like sometimes I don't hear from Mimi, he's in Tennessee. I don't hear from him for like 2 days. And I'm like, what is up? And I'm like, Esau, where is your brother? And he's like, oh, he's in class. Oh, he's playing. Oh, he's in Georgia today. Or he's eating right now. And like, he knows his brother every move. He talks to him 20 times a day. And sometimes when he knows that I haven't spoken to him in a day or two, he'll bring me the phone and he's like, here. And he'll put it in my face and he's like, talk to your mother, talk to your mother. So, but they are very close. They're very, very aware of each other. They're, we found out that they are what it's called mirror image twins. When we found out that one was right-handed and the other one was left-handed. So, but we didn't know that until they were older, because I did notice that when they were learning, when they were going through their therapy and stuff, Esau would pick up a pen with his left hand, but then he would put it in his right hand because his brother wrote with his right hand. And then he saw all the other kids in the classroom to write with a right hand. So he would pick up stuff with the left because that was his instinct, but he will put it in his right. So he writes with his right hand. He will, do whatever he got to do with his right hand. But when it comes to like throwing a power punch, it's with his left. When it comes to batting, it's with his left. When it comes to throwing the ball hard, it's with his left. So when he needs to do something with power, it's left-handed. When he has to do something with coordination or motion, it's his right hand. And then my other one, of course, it is right-handed.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. That's a whole nother show.
Yes.
That's cool. All right, I like that. Well, thank you for sharing all of that, and I'm glad I asked you because I had no idea. But our time is almost up, so I hope that everyone learned something from our discussion from today. And as we always say,
Liliana, so before you go, kind of go through those.
I think I did, because it's mainly Lily and Tangi. Tangi also said, beautiful. Glad that your twins are close. What a blessing. Very interesting. Or unless I missed something, I don't know.
Yeah, it's I think it's on our YouTube part. It says my nephews are Irish twins, born a year apart, but they're very close. Then Tangi said, beautiful. I'm that they're closed. This is Blue Radio 62. Don't know how the youngest will handle when Julius goes off to school this summer. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing. Have a great week on purpose. Of course, that's our friend Tangi. But thank you for watching Blue Radio 62. So
Yes, thank you so much. And also our economic financial contribution to the U.S. economy is 4.4,
I think
4.3.
we're up, but let's go with 3 just in case to play it
Okay,
safe.
we'll
At
go
least.
with 3. $4.3 trillion. That is how much the Latino community contributes to the USA economy. And especially with the gas prices being so high, we're paying even more. I used to fill up my car with 40 and now I'm in the 60s. So the economy is getting more of my Latin dollars, for sure. For sure. But thank you to everyone for watching us and sharing this with other people as well. And as you all know, we always finish our show with one of Maddie's extravagante poems. So we're ready.
I don't know about extravagante, but this is a new poem. This is a new piece. I just wrote it. So as you guys know, I compete in a poetry team and we're getting ready for competition. So we've been doing a lot of writing. So this came out of that. We've been talking about growth and, how much we have changed and how we handle conflict. So I think this is an appropriate poem for today's topic. So it's called Today I Choose Joy. So today I choose joy. I am up and my inner child flips and hangs from the bed, teaching me the fastest way on how to turn a frown into a smile again. And I laugh. And for a second, the innocence in the laughter reminds me depression wasn't born here. Today, I choose to protect my borders. This heart is not a foreigner to the love, and just because all feels lost doesn't mean joy can be found in the little things, like the tingling of my taste buds at the thought of grape jelly and cheese. Don't judge. Caramel and chocolate, cake and ice cream, or my granddaughter's kiss. I stare at the glass of water in front of me, reducing myself to nothing because I fed my soul the belief that I am not and I will never be enough. So I am choosing to hold the cup with 2 hands and swallow the water instead. I refuse to let it drown me, not today. 2 feet on the ground, I am reminded that I can still stand, I still feel, I still dream, I'm still here, I get to live. Hi, my name is Maddie, and my life right now is one convoluted hot mess, but I am awake, and I said my prayers. I am grateful for another chance to do better today. I have learned that thinking about my yesterdays only make them an active part of my todays, filling up my tomorrows with regret. I hug my children, and I realize that if today is the end, I know I went out trying my best.
I'm telling you, when I saw you perform last week, like all of your poems were very, very like heartfelt, like emotional, like, oh my God, it's crazy. But thank you. I love it.
Thank
I
you.
love those. I hope you have an amazing week on purpose, as Tangi said. And we will see everyone next Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And thank you to Pot TV and to our wonderful producer, Mark. Gracias.
Thank you.
The only trick you need to save time and money is to shop at Aldi. Aldi. Shop differently. Limitless length plus volume. Sensational from every angle. New Lash Sensational Sky High Mascara. Only from Maybelline, New York. Everything that touches your baby should be this comforting. Pampers Swaddlers. The #1 choice of hospitals is 2 times softer. All right, Trivago. Find me a hotel somewhere in Thailand where I can wake up with a view of the ocean. Awesome. The future. It's impossible to see. And when it's finally here, it might not be what you'd expect. It might just be better. Introducing Luxury Electric. Introducing Lucid Air. We're for those who love to discover, who don't need to travel to find something new, and who know when you spend less, you can discover even more at TJ Maxx and Marshalls. Smooth, velvety chocolate wrapped in precious gold. Ferrero Rocher.
Whether you're a seasoned designer, dabbler, or just starting out, this course is for you.
Are just so impressed with them. Like I said, we've been with them for years. I will recommend and refer anyone to them. We stand by A+ academics. They're the best.
A+ tutorial really did help me with all my grades. They all went up when I came to this place. And I would say I recommend this school to everyone.
So it's a really good environment to be in, especially for me because it makes me look up to my parents.
If you have students that need academic help, A+ Academics is the place to be. A+ Academics, what a great place to go for academics.
It's just a really great place to learn.